thank you very much. A very nice morning from Frankfurt. We have no snow anymore, but it's getting warmer. But we are also getting warmer for crypto and for the new crypto year 2021. Joe Biden is the new US president. In Germany, a lot of interesting regulatory approaches are coming this year concerning the crypto market. And we have three very interesting experts here today. Very short introduction to myself. I'm Felix Holtermann. I'm the leading crypto editor of Handelsblatt, German's business daily that you probably know. That today we are not talking about me, but about our guests and about the market, the crypto market, to speak quite frankly. Let me introduce you quickly to our three participants. So we have Boris Dittrich here. Not Boris, sorry, Andreas Dittrich here from T-Systems. T-Systems is a part of Deutsche Telekom, one of the leading network providers in Germany, in Europe, and also in the world. Andreas Dittrich is a scientist. He studied computer science in Berlin, and he's working for the Deutsche Telekom for T-Systems concerning their crypto adoption projects. I'm quite sure that Mr. Dittrich, that Andreas, you will tell our participants a bit more about yourself. We have Boris Ziganke. He studied law in Frankfurt. He's Marktvorstand, so he's responsible for the markets in the board of Bankhaus Scheich, which is a Frankfurt-based bank and a specialist for markets, for trading of a lot of goods, of equities and so on, but also now on crypto, in the crypto market. And then we have Henrik Gebbing from Finoa. I'm quite sure that most of you might know him already. Finoa is a startup, one of the leading startups concerning crypto storage in Germany and perhaps in the future in beyond. Henrik Gebbing studied business in San Francisco and also in Germany, so he also catched some of the Silicon Valley spirit. Henrik, I will start with you. Thank you all for participating. Can you tell us a bit, give us a short introduction to Finoa and to your journey in the crypto world? Where do we stand now at the beginning of 2020?
Yeah, thank you very much, Felix. So Finoa, we started, I think it's now 3 years ago in 2017, together with my co-founder. We were both investing privately into the crypto space. We're very intrigued by the asset class that we saw emerging. We're intrigued by the technology that was emerging. But our user experience once we invested was quite horrible, to be frank. You always felt insecure. You always really didn't know if what you did was right. And I remember checking every time, basically several times a day, if my account wasn't hacked, indeed. And it actually happened to me once or twice that I was a victim of a phishing attack, and some of my assets were like compromised, you know. And when we talked, and I was working at McKinsey before, a consulting firm in Germany, and was working with large corporate institutions, banks, and well, saw very much how the traditional financial market looked like. And when I talked to those institutionals and corporates that were already aware of Bitcoin, that was already the first hurdle, but then who already tried to deal with Bitcoin, they had the same horrible user experience that I had. So what we said with Finoa is we want to build the gateway to for institutionals and corporates to enter into the crypto asset ecosystem, which obviously over the last 3 years has evolved to a real business. We are now with 25 people here in Berlin, are serving financial institutions, corporates, venture capital funds, alternative investment funds, etc. alike, and helping them to enter into this crypto asset ecosystem to provide the same user experience and security that they're used from the traditional financial system. And that's in a nutshell what we provide at Finoa, helping those institutionals and corporates.
Okay, very interesting. So some kind of startup story, but in a market that is not classical at all. Let us bring Boris into the discussion. Boris, why is Bankhaus Scheich now moving into this market? And what have you done so far in the past? You managed in 2020 to get the first Aktien, the first equity share on the blockchain. Perhaps you can tell us a bit more about that project.
That's actually what you're talking about, is where I met Finoa and Henrik. And it was the same approach as for Henrik. You know, we're a trading security bank and founded 85, so a long tradition for trading, and like above all asset groups. And in 2017, of course, the volatility in the crypto market was like amazing. So for us as a trading house, yeah, it was, of course, we wanted to take part of the trading there, and we experienced the same. It was absolutely insecure, and it was like not at all fitting for an institutional investors. So yeah, we tried to find a way to make this market accessible for institutional investors. But in those early days, it was just not possible with the BaFin and all the audits. It was just the market was not grown enough for institutional investors. So, but we kept on, you know, working and making our own experience. But in 2019, when the authorities started, you know, to regulate that market, we thought it would be a great opportunity for us to bring our expertise and yeah, to build a gateway for institutional investors. And that's when we made this POC with the tokenization of a DAX share, of Telecom share. And so it's really cool that now the circuit closes when the Telecom is trading cryptocurrencies through us. That's a really nice fact. Yeah, but this made us, opened us a lot of doors, because we were the first company, like in worldwide actually, that done that. And the first one, you know, who were just not talking, we just started doing something. And that's maybe, that was possible because we're, you know, we're a small investment boutique, 100% privately owned. And that makes a lot possible. You know, if we want to dive into a new asset class, we can just try, and we have very short decision ways. So we just started with that project, and then one came after the other. And now it's very good that the regulation started working on this topic. I think we do a pretty good job in Germany. Of course, it could be a lot faster, but still they are willing to regulate the market, and that, yeah, that's the key to success actually.
Okay, before we talk a bit in depth about all your projects, let's bring Andreas into the game. Andreas Dittrich from DT which is Deutsche Telekom AG, T-Systems. Andreas, what is T-Systems doing in the crypto market now? I know that you're a big network provider in Germany, in Europe. I've learned that you have some spare IT, some server capabilities that are not used, and now you are mining cryptos. Is that right or is that wrong?
That is wrong. We do have spare IT. So, and well, actually, part of it is right, but those are technicalities, I would say. We're not mining Bitcoin, for example, so we're not providing our server farms for Bitcoin mining or something like that. So I'm head of the Blockchain Solution Center at T-Systems Multimedia Solutions, which is subsidiary to Systems, which is part of Deutsche Telekom. And of course, we have partners in the company. That's why it's sometimes a bit difficult to describe where we are from inside the telecom group. But we started roughly 4 years ago providing blockchain solutions for our customers. And that was the usual, like, education and strategic consulting, and also implementation of use cases, supply chain use cases, whatever, you name it, on the application level of blockchains. And we were always also operating those solutions. And roughly 2 years ago, we started our journey into operating parts of public blockchain infrastructure. And we see this as a natural evolution for a telco company. We've always been connecting people connecting systems, connecting corporations, and new types of networks that are really transferring and managing digital values. Those are distributed networks like blockchain. So for us, it's a natural evolution to provide infrastructure for this as well. But of course, to do that, you need to handle digital assets, native digital assets. You have to be able to run business models on top of those, basically leveraging those assets. And this is something really new for an IT company like us, or a telco company like us. And we have completely different customers here, and we need completely different partners, because in the end, what we're seeing is a convergence of IT services and financial services. So in essence, when we are providing infrastructure for public blockchains, I think we dig deeper here during the talk, we are providing, in essence, a financial service. And I'm very happy to have Boris and Henrik here with the call, because those are both partners of ours in providing those services to public blockchain networks. And without them, it wouldn't be possible for us, simply because this is and thankfully, this is a regulated market. And yeah.
It's good that you bring Boris and Henrik into the game as well. Andreas, can you tell us a bit more? Can you give us an example? How does this cooperation between you three, between the three institutions work? So if I got it right, you are providing IT capabilities for public blockchains, for example, for Link. You earn cryptos in the pursuit of this. And in the end, you need Henrik, for example, Finoa, to store them. But I'm quite sure that you can explain it a bit more in depth for our hearers.
I will try, because obviously we can dig as deep as we want. But in essence, what we're providing is what we have always done when we're providing infrastructure. We are running secure and reliable IT infrastructure. This was database as a service. That might be an internet router. For public blockchains, those are specific blockchain nodes. They would be miners in Bitcoin, which we don't do. In modern proof of stake networks, those are validators, nominators, execution nodes, you name it, right? Those are simply different roles that make the blockchain network, the blockchain protocol happen. We are running those nodes securely on our infrastructure. That's one thing. So that's something actually pretty easy for us to do. This is what we do day in, day out. Now, we do this because we earn money with it. And the incentivation on blockchain networks is in digital assets. So actually, we do earn digital assets in terms of Chainlink networks. Those are Link tokens. Now, what do we do with those tokens? Obviously, we have them on our balance sheet in between. But if we want to have revenue, we need to cash them out somehow. We need to store them first and then trade them to get euros or whatever. And this is something this is regulated, and we as Deutsche Telekom do not have a license to do that. So we need trusted partners, BaFin regulated, BaFin licensed partners to do that. This is where a custodian like Finoa comes in place, or in this case, a broker for us like Bankhaus Scheich comes into place.
That's interesting. Who are your customers? Do you know them?
That is a very good question. So obviously, I mean, very different. If we're talking about private blockchain infrastructure, obviously we are running nodes either on our own behalf or for our customers. This is pretty normal. If we're talking about public blockchains, the basic customer is the network itself. It's a bit like running internet backbone infrastructure. Who is your customer, really? It's not so easy to say, right? You might have bigger stakeholders that trust us to run their infrastructure, but there are a lot of smaller investors, or let's say anonymous investors, that trust us with their stake, and they delegate. Sorry to go into the technicalities already. They delegate their stake to us, trusting that we will run our infrastructure reliably, so they can, generate an interest on that, basically. And we don't know them. And this is something, and this is also very volatile. You can delegate one day and then take away the delegation the next day, right? And this is something that is pretty novel for us. And also, I would say 80% of our work to get this business running was discussing all those topics, not only with our partners, like Boris and Henrik and others, but also internally with the treasury, tax, and legal teams and all those to understand what such a business model actually means, what running this means. Because, and most of it, by the way, or let's say important parts of this are still not regulated. So we need to come up with our own opinions and legal statements about how we view this. And I'm very happy and actually pretty proud that we got this up and running because to my knowledge, as a big corporate, we're a global first to be able to run infrastructure and public blockchain networks and have an actually native or digital token native business model up and running. So this is something pretty novel and something pretty special.
That's quite interesting what you said, that perhaps it's not easy to convince the whole corporate, to convince Deutsche Telekom to do this. To put it quite frankly, is the use or is your work in this market, your offer, some kind of byproduct, some kind of side product of your big IT systems, of your big servers that are perhaps not used all the time, and someone in Deutsche Telekom thought, okay, well, what can we do with that? Okay, there we have the crypto market. Yeah, let's give them some systems to play with, but in the end, that's not part of our core business model. That is selling iPhones, connecting people with 5G, and so on and so on. So is that rather something nice to have, a byproduct, but never an integral part of Deutsche Telekom?
Well, obviously, most of Deutsche Telekom's revenue is not done by us yet. No, I mean, but having said that, it's definitely not a byproduct. Obviously, we have our own infrastructure that we can leverage to provide those services. And that is a big advantage that we're having. We're having the brand and the trust that we stand for, which is pretty interesting for institutional investors, you know, that want to have someone to secure their assets by running infrastructure. Custodians, for example, are a prime customer. You asked who are customers for us simply because of that. We also provide decentralization for blockchain networks because most of blockchain nodes are run on AWS or those big cloud platform providers. No, we have our own infrastructure. So faults on AWS are not correlated with our nodes. So our nodes will be running if you have a fault on AWS. But it's definitely, so that's a big advantage, but it's not a byproduct that we saw, well, we have all those servers and we're not putting them to use. So it was really the other way around. We saw there is a need for us to be a provider for public blockchain networks. And we have this big advantage of having our own infrastructure. So this simply came together.
Okay, thanks, Andreas. So the cryptos you earn, they are stored with Henrik's Finoa, and Boris Bankhaus Scheich is helping to trade them. Boris, I have a question to you. Why is Bankhaus Scheich now entering this sphere? I mean, the IT systems, the backbone of the crypto market, perhaps they are needed. The systems of Deutsche Telekom are needed in the end to make these public blockchains work. But do we really need Bankhaus Scheich? Do we need another player to trade cryptos, or aren't there a lot of other players in the free market? For example, I don't know, Kraken, Coinbase, and so on and so on. Why do we need Bankhaus Scheich now? Yeah,
it's all a question about trust. And same as Andreas said, it's completely different if it's impossible for a corporate or for institutional investor to onboard on a non-regulated exchange or trading venue. And what we do is we're the partner to give institutionals access to the market, and we are a fully regulated house. So and we adopt the environment. They know, like all the and we are their gateway to the market. Actually, that's the point. Gateway of trust. And it's fully integrated to the core banking systems. And yeah, that's something to make it run smooth in a bank.
Okay, how easy is it, or how hard is it to convince the bank, the whole system, to enter this crypto sphere? I mean, Bankhaus Scheich is a lot smaller than T-Systems and then Deutsche Telekom, but I could imagine that you also had quite some obstacles to overcome.
Actually, we saw huge demand by our customers. It's the wealth managers. They contact us and say and ask us to be their gateway to the non-regulated market. And the big banks, as you say, they just cannot move that fast, and they see have a big fear of fraud and all that. And so we offer both. We offer direct market access to all those exchanges you said, and to many others. But the German, especially the German customers, they want just execution against us, because they trust us. We are in the market for more than 35 years now, and we're a trusted partner for a lot of for all of them. So actually, it's a question of trust, and it's very easy for them to access to that market. It's the environment they know, and that's the big point.
How big is the demand? How many customers are asking for crypto trading at Bankhaus?
More and more each day. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. There's a huge demand. People, there's a lot of education we have to do, but the wealth managers, they're a big part. They come up to us and say, oh, our clients come to us and say, oh, what's about that new asset class? What about digital assets? I can't go to my bank and they can buy cryptos there. Of course, they can buy an ETN or ETF or whatever, but that's not the same. It's if you start with the trading 24/7. I mean, if you buy a product, like a normal product on those, you can only trade them like maybe 50% of the actual trading hours. So you miss a lot of opportunities, and you might get losses, which is not necessary. So the demand is for buying the real assets through a trusted gateway. That's actually the point.
Are the customers that are approaching you, I assume they are mainly institutional customers, but correct me.
Only, yes.
Yeah. Are these new customers that for the first time enter into a relationship with Bankhaus Scheich because of your crypto offer, or are these existing customers that are now also buying cryptos?
Actually, both. We have both. We have our existing customers, but we also have new customers. Like, for example, like Deutsche Telekom. Yeah, that's a good example. Yeah.
I mean, buying and selling cryptos is the one thing, but the other thing is the storage, right? So in the beginning, we used to store the codes to enter our wallets, perhaps in the fridge or on some old computers that some of us are now searching on dumpster grounds around the world. How important is the cooperation with Finoa for Bankhaus Scheich? In Germany, we have a new law now, the Kryptoverwahrgesetz. So it's the storage of cryptos is regulated. Have you thought about doing this for yourself, or why did you approach Finoa?
Actually, before we met Finoa, we thought of doing that for ourselves. And we applied we told the BaFin that we would be interested in such a license, but we changed our approach completely. We want to partner, with absolutely experts. And for us, Finoa is such an expert. Very good expertise, very trustful, and yeah, we like working with them.
Henrik, what is Finoa exactly doing for Bankhaus Scheich and for your other customers?
Well, at the end, you can, if you want to compare it a little bit with the traditional financial system, it doesn't matter if you're a retail investor or institutional investor, you have to store your assets, your shares, bonds somewhere, right? And in the normal world, that happens with a deposit bank or a securities trading bank. And in the digital asset space, that's a completely new technological stack. The crypto assets are fully built on cryptography. Private keys are a way to access the asset. So it has nothing to do with what traditional custodians or deposit banks have been working with. And when we entered the market in 2017, we saw that the traditional incumbents were just so far away from entering the space. And to be frank, this hasn't really changed. And then we said, well, there's a market need already, because you mentioned it. A lot of users were not happy with their current situation, or they lost their access to the assets. And for Bitcoin, for example, there's some estimations that around 20-25% of all Bitcoins are already lost forever, basically unrecoverable. And that was kind of the moment when we said, okay, we believe in this space, we believe in the technology. We have a lot of knowledge from traditional finance. You also see that in our tech team. They have built banks for the last 35 years. And we said we want to bring basically that trust and that security standard from the traditional world into crypto. And this is exactly what we do. So when, for example, customers like Bankhaus Scheich or T-Systems, when they come to us, we open an account for them. And at the end, they have the ability to store their assets with us. This is a full portfolio. So this is not only Bitcoin. You mentioned some other cryptocurrencies already. We provide, I think at the moment, more than 180 different asset classes within the digital asset space. And this is basically growing every day. And then the pure, let's say, custody is obviously a rather, I don't want to say boring, but a very simple product, right? The technological caveats that you have to solve, I mean, they are very complex, and we were very happy to solve them and help our customers. But obviously, we wanted to build a wider business model on it, right? Because customers want, for example, to change their portfolio, hence they need to trade. And that's exactly the point when we said, okay, we have the custody technology under control. This is now also regulated since last year in Germany, but what we can't provide with our license is the trading piece. And there are partners in the market that are experts on this. And that's very much vice versa of what Boris just said, is that, well, we can't do this on ourselves right now. So why don't we partner with the experts that can do it? And then we were very happy to find Bankhaus Scheich, one of the, let's say, pioneers in Germany that entered as a traditional trading player into the crypto space as well. And our partnership, which is set up then as a so-called OTC, over-the-counter partnership, we share the customers together. Once a customer that has his assets with us says, well, I want to sell a position, or I want to top up a position with the euros that I have, then Bankhaus Scheich is the partner that we can loop in. This is all happening within our secure infrastructure. So the assets that Bankhaus Scheich holds are stored with Finoa. The assets that the third-party customer holds are with Finoa. So when a trade takes place, this never really leaves the secure infrastructure. And with that, we can then provide kind of the full circle of service to the institutional or corporate users, which have a growing demand entering into the space.
So you started roughly 3 years ago. How big is the amount of cryptos you are storing at the moment for your customers? What are they worth?
It's a good question, and it's a delicate matter for a crypto custodian in general. But it's a well 9-digit number. So I think I'll leave it with that. And I think in the crypto asset space, so actual crypto assets, I'm talking non-tokenized securities or so. This is very much market leading in Europe.
I mean, that's quite interesting, right? We talked about trust in the beginning, and trust seems to be the one of the pillars of the financial system, or to put it that way, of our society as a whole. You started 3 years ago, and now you're responsible for the storage of, I don't know, 100, 200, 300, or even more millions of dollars of cryptos of your customers. Where do you store them, Henrik? Do you store them in your basement or in an old mine in Norway, or where are Andreas' cryptos?
Yeah, I look under the table here. Maybe I have the keys here somewhere, but no, obviously we have to run this in a very sophisticated technological infrastructure, right? So we run a redundant infrastructure. We run this in high security data centers. that are, I keep it rough, in the east and west of Germany, so also physically and geographically separated. And then we built the whole, I mean, the technology is one, but then obviously also as an institution that provides the custody, you also have to run the processes and the organizational setup to protect those assets, because the technology is only one piece of it. And well, we, in our values, we say we live trust, and I think that's very much what Boris also says, because we trust in the people that we work with, we trust in the technology that we use, and we trust in the processes. And this is obviously also enhanced by the regulation that we undergo as we speak, because obviously the BaFin also comes with a lot of, let's say, organizational and technological, let's say, demands and requirements to run an organization like ours with. And for us, this was, let's say, a very early way to mature our business model, right? Because we started as a startup, but then how much do you want to trust your assets with the startups? And I think with the number of assets that we now have in custody, we have shown that people trust us, but that's because we have kind of emerged and matured to a company, right? And that's also very, very important for us, that we are understood that, you know, we follow compliance, we follow security, and we provide that trust to our customers so that they can have the peace of mind storing their assets with us instead of taking care of it themselves. And then when the house burns down, and they won't sleep anymore, right? So that's kind of the service we provide.
I mean, peace of mind is a very, very important topic, I think, in Corona times and post-Donald Trump times. I have one more question for you, Henrik, and then I want to get you, every one of you, into the discussion. The first questions are already coming in here, but I would be really happy if I get some more of you guys. So take another sip of coffee and then post your questions. They're getting through to me. Henrik, one last question. I asked Boris why he's doing the storage side not by himself, why Bankhaus Scheich is not storing the cryptos. Henrik, the same question goes to you, the other way around. Why is Finoa not trading the cryptos? I mean, we've seen quite some startups that are now integrating bank services, right? For example, Bitwala wants to build up a bank, a Vollbank, as we call it in German. That means a bank with all the appropriate licenses. Bitcoin.de of Oliver Flaskamper in Herford, they are doing this as well at the moment with their Futurum Bank. So tell me, how long does Finoa need Bankhaus Scheich, or will you in the end do it on your own, the crypto trading side as well?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question as well. I mean, the two examples that you named, these are very much retail focused players, right? What they serve is the everyone Lieschen Müller, as we would say in Germany, right? To help them to invest into crypto as well, a few hundreds, few thousand euros. Our customer infrastructure is very different. We have customers with ticket sizes from 10 to 100 million, right, in assets under custody with us. And once they make a decision to, for example, trade a piece of their portfolio, it's a bit more delicate and it's a bit more different. They need real experts and OTC, for example, over the counter, a trading desk like Bankhaus Scheich is providing. So real experts that are sitting there and looking on the different marketplaces to find, let's say, the best distribution of doing that trade, doing that portfolio shift. They are very much needed, right? And again, I said it before, it's a bit of, you know, you can only be an expert on so many things at the same time, right? So we said partnership is a much faster way to grow here than doing it ourselves. And that being said, obviously the pure crypto asset custody license, one needs to see in the future how that goes with our business model, if that needs to be, you know, topped up, and maybe there is a pathway to a full banking license, as you named it, for Finoa as well. That has to be seen. But I think what doesn't change is our partnership with Bankhaus Scheich, you know, because even if we provide the trading on our platform directly, so you can, for example, initiate trades out of the user interface that we provide to our users, Bankhaus Scheich 100% will be one of the broker partners, right, or the market makers basically to trade against, right? Because they provide, I think, market leading pricing, but Boris can say much more about it, which then makes 100% sense to keep that in the platform. So maybe the partnership changes, but I don't see a way that it won't continue.
Boris, is that some kind of relief for you?
Actually, that was I never questioned that, because as we both said, you know, it's a very fast-growing market, and it's a question of trust of your partners, and it's too big to do everything on your own, you know. And if everyone focuses on each core competence, it's much better. It's much securer for the clients. Plus, it's the best for all of us.
Okay.
That's
okay.
That's actually the point. And what you said, it's the crypto market is very spread. You know, you can't trade big size tickets on all of those exchanges. So that's why you need market experts, you need market makers, you need what we're doing in our daily business and on Frankfurt Stock Exchange market making is taking risks. You know, we do prices for stocks we don't own, you know, so we sell stocks and then we have to try to get the stocks we sold before. And it's exactly the same. You need expertise to do that, a lot of expertise. And for us, it's the cryptocurrency or the crypto markets is just a completely new investment class, but it's our core competence to trade and to take risks, to do risk pricing. And that's something you can't even, you know, take out of your pocket and copy it. It's a core competence, and that's like Henrik has got the core competence for storage. Why should we try to build that on our own? There's no need. I mean, in our trading business for stocks or bonds, we don't store them. We don't store them at all. We have a partner bank who does the storage for us. So that's the normal setup for institutional trading.
How big was the crypto trading volume at Bankhaus Scheich last year?
Last year it was not that big actually, but this year it's it was. We started increasing our size of the market making, and it's really it's growing each day, and it's.
Can you share the number?
Increasing each day, and it's a 8-digit number of value right now today, I think, or yesterday, but it could be like the double, 5 times, 10 times as much as we like to open or like to take more risks. You know, it's very, very scalable. That's the point. And the more risk we want to take, the we can scale it up.
Okay. The first questions are coming in. I'm very happy. Good job, guys. Please post more questions if you have some. One of our participants is asking, I think it's a question to you, Boris. If I store my crypto, for example, Bitcoin or others, in the value of 100,000 euros in my bank account at Bankhaus Scheich, is this protected by government like regular euro fiat? So what about the German Einlagensicherung?
Actually, this goes more to Henrik because we don't store the cryptos.
But I'm your customer, right?
Yeah,
so
sure.
I have the treaty with you.
Yeah, but Henrik, could you tell me the exact way? I think for Deutsche Einlagensicherung, of course, is not valid because it's no Deutsche Einlage. You know, so that's the fast answer.
And that's the answer. I don't have a longer answer either. The problem here is that it just doesn't fall under the Einlagensicherungsfonds, and hence the assets are seen as a different asset class. So it's not euro, it's no Zahlungsmittel or payment in that sense. So it doesn't fall under that umbrella, and hence the protection is not the same. So the protection that you are seeking then instead is the credibility, the trust, the balance sheet, and probably on top of that, the insurance of the player you work with. And that is then basically that mix. Interestingly enough, it will be interesting to see if this might change, because I mean, the market is growing at an unprecedented speed, in terms of, we see it with us, with the assets under custody that come from completely new customers that we probably 6 months ago wouldn't thought to contract with. And if this continues, this market also becomes more relevant, right? And then it is to be seen if the regulator or the lawmakers come up with a similar scheme that then also applies to some, at least, crypto assets. The problem is there only that, the variety is so big. Some might be actual cryptocurrencies, some might be used as a utility for the network. That's very much what Andreas explained before. At the end, they provide infrastructure. They get a utility token from that infrastructure. That utility token has a price, but how does this fall as a financial instrument then exactly into comparison with Bitcoin, for example, or a tokenized security in the future, right? And hence, there's a lot of things that we have great regulation, very progressive. I think globally also absolutely unique still. What Germany did early last year, but a lot of questions will still have to be answered over the next coming years, and that one is a very good one that will fall sooner or later also into the hands of the lawmakers again to figure out if this applies or not.
Yeah, but actually it's the same for your depot. If you got any stocks, they are not covered by Deutsche Anlagensicherung as well, because it's just for euros. It's just for fiat, the coverage.
Okay.
So it's no difference to any other asset.
Okay, we will touch upon the law side later, but we have some questions from the audience. And one of the questions is going to Andreas. Andreas, I presume that it's a question from someone that's working in a big corporation as well. The question is, Andreas, what are the best arguments for promoting blockchain inside a large corporation? So you might not be the only one who had to overcome some obstacles in the beginning.
Yeah, that is a very good question. To be honest, because it really depends who you're talking to. And I would also argue, if you're in a startup, obviously you would handle such a topic or approaching such a business model in a completely different way. In a big corporation, I would argue, this is not only the case in Deutsche Telekom. I would say that 4 out of 5 people are very hesitant to follow your arguments, simply because it's so novel, that business model, and you have to touch so many different topics really in depth to understand it, that people just shy away from it. One, however, is usually pretty excited about it and wants to make it happen. And this was the case for us, let's say, with our tax guys, with our legal guys, because they really are intrigued by the opportunities. And this is what I would always point out. The arguments are very different to who you're talking to. The best main argument for us was, I mean, in the end, this is about decentralized networks that are run on top of blockchain technology. And if you talk about blockchain, usually you have the guy standing up saying, well, that didn't work so far, right? And where's the business case on top of it? How do we make money now and not in 5 to 10 years? And that is a pretty good argument, because if you're betting on individual use cases, it's pretty easy for those use cases to fail. There's a high risk in focusing on individual use cases. What we're doing is, however, is completely use case agnostic. We are providing core infrastructure. And our argument was always, blockchains are already there. I mean, you heard the numbers from Henrik and Boris. Those assets are already being invested in. They are being traded. So what we are doing is a supporting infrastructure service to actually to generate yield on that network. You know, that Henrik, for example, can give an interest to his customers. I mean, we are providing a service to actually make that happen. And that's the best argument, saying the market is already there. We just have to be able to do it. And that's always how we started. And once you have people, once you have people understand this, that you're not betting on individual use case, but on the market that's already there, then you can start with the technicalities, and then it gets actually pretty difficult, to be honest.
Okay, I think.
But another argument that we've already touched also in big parts, this market is regulated. Okay, so this is not, if you talk about Bitcoin or something, that sounds pretty exotic, but in very core aspects, it is not exotic anymore here in Germany. And that's a huge advantage that we're having, right? So, yeah. But obviously you need to do the work yourself. I mean, this is not an easy task to begin with, in a big corporation, to jump on a wagon and public blockchain infrastructure, which it is for us. That is not something easy to do.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just what you said. The market is already there, and it won't pass away just because you don't believe it. You know, if you do nothing, you're not on the market, but the market will still go on. And that's the point where we thought, okay, we need to be that little thing to give access to the institutional investors in their trusted world, in their trusted environment.
Okay.
That's actually the point.
We have a question that is fitting to that topic. It goes out to Henrik. Henrik, how did you convince your first clients to give you the cryptos, given that it's all about trust? What was your main argument? Was it the fear of losing it, or?
Yeah, no, we didn't scare our users into our service, right? So no, that's not how we convinced them. I think it's a very good question. Back in the day, I think, and it's still the same today, and it's a bit harder with Corona because of the distance. But trust is very often also a matter of personal relationship, especially in the institutional and corporate environments. So. I think there's very little users of Finoa that haven't seen any of our colleagues' faces, have been explained our service, have been explained our organization, our technology as well. Even though for the technology, I have to say, 2 years ago it was, let's say, much more convincing that we are capable to build the technology. I think that is now more or less understood and not questions. And then it's really about the personal relationship. You convince. That what we do also with the partners that we have, and obviously I have to say that we have 2 partners here as well that help us with that as well, because that also shows trust. Andreas said it. I remember long sessions with your procurement departments to make it as a young company as Finoa through the Deutsche Telekom procurement process, right? This is for any company, it's a lot of work, but then a new business model, a new company. And in a completely new market that took a lot of work, and us personally helping also the compliance and legal team of these systems to understand what we do, show them what we do, and build that trust. So I think personality and personal relationships was back in the day the core to enter the market, and now it's a mix of the references that you collect, but personality is still for us incredibly important. We want to always show a face to the customer, and that they know and can trust us that we run our business in a compliant, secure, and then trusted setup.
Okay.
Felix, let me add something here, because trust is most important. But trust in this case means also trust in a partner who is willing to be on this journey with us, for example, right? And this requires a lot of agility as well, because this market is constantly changing and evolving. If you think of, again, the question, who are our customers? I mean, obviously institutional investors and so on, but also bigger financial institutes that want to handle crypto tokens as well. We need to be very agile as an infrastructure provider to adapt our services to their needs. So we need partners who are very agile there as well. I mean, that's also the discussions that we're having with both Finoa and Bankhaus Scheich, among others, is, this is the market that we're seeing. Those are the requirements of our customers. Are you willing to support this as well, right? And this is an important part of trust as well, that we are not only, I mean, you don't work together now, you want to work together in 1 year, in 2 years, in 5 years, in a successful way. And this requires a lot of agility and a lot of willingness also to take risks on our behalf in that case. That's a strong argument.
That's interesting that you're talking about a time horizon of 5 years in a market that's roughly 10 years old, but the future is up for us. Andreas, another question goes out to you from the audience. What public blockchains are most interested to run to run nodes for?
Yeah, well, it depends who you ask. I can only give you my answer. Obviously, for Bitcoin as a public blockchain, this is a valid business model since many years already for mining farm operators, for example. This is not our business case. So we are not interested in proof of work blockchains where basically you put in a lot of computing power to get the rewards in form of tokens. We are focusing on proof of stake networks simply because we see our USP in providing reliable and trustworthy infrastructure. And in the end, that's what you, in proof of stake networks, you need to have stake. You don't need computing power. You need to have stake. And you only get stake either if you invest yourself or you provide a trustworthy service for people that invested themselves and they will trust their stake to you. So those are the networks that are interesting for us. And obviously the incentivization model, the token economics on this network need to be interesting for us, right? So obviously we need to make a profit when running our infrastructure, but we don't see ourselves as the fastest computing providers in the world. We see ourselves as everybody knows Deutsche Telekom. I mean, we're trustworthy. Whatever we say we do for you, and we do it for years to come. Right? So those are the networks that are good for us. And if you look at for example, where we're live on is the Chainlink network, an Oracle provider on the Ethereum network. Ethereum is a network that is interesting for us, especially the next generation of the Ethereum network, Polkadot network, all those new proof of stake networks that are constantly growing at the moment. Those are our prime targets.
Okay, thank you. And talking about the future, perhaps we have some other competitors coming in, because we have one question from the audience that is asking, how long does it take to set up trading and custody? So Boris and Henrik, someone is interested perhaps in your business model. Boris, how long did it take for Bankhaus Scheich?
Last year, the whole year, actually. Yeah, and it's that's what Andreas just said. It's you have to be very agile. It's not possible for if you're not like flexible, because you just can't compare it to the traditional business. It's yeah, and the onboarding, the compliance part, that's really a big thing. So I think for huge institutions, it's just not possible at the moment.
Okay, Henrik?
Well, it depends. I would say if a potential user or customer just comes and uses our now built up infrastructure, I mean, we can start next week.
Absolutely.
If that goes through. So I just want to drop that point. Yeah, but in general, I think especially for I mean, the incumbents question, obviously we get that also a lot. Are you afraid that, you know, like once the big banks go into this business, that your business model has a problem? Well, first of all, I've heard that for the last 3 years. Still, I don't really see incumbents not even really going into the space, not even Bitcoin, which is now, you mentioned it, it's at least 12 years old. And when you really look at, for example, what Andreas and the team are doing, and also what our investors do, they want to build a portfolio. So Bitcoin is not a portfolio. Bitcoin is great. Yeah, I think I'm a big advocate, and I think like every investor should have a allocation to Bitcoin as well. But then digital assets is an asset class where you need a portfolio as well. That's the portfolio thought. And then even if a bank moves in and says, okay, we provide some base layer Bitcoin custody, that's just like a percentage of kind of what we do as of today, right? You know, and I think building that up, changing the complete tech stack, I think that's just what has been kind of hindering the traditional system. I obviously have to say it was easier for us. We could start like basically on a blank sheet of paper and then plan ahead what we want to build in the crypto space, and that now plays out in that sense, you know. So, but again, if someone's interested onboarding as a customer, we can start on Monday.
Absolutely, and actually there's no need to build up that whole infrastructure, because we did it already, and you know we're having a price leadership, so it's actually it's no advantage if you build the same on your own, because we got the scale effect, and it's you can use if you want to be fast, just use our market access and our setup.
So if we have a participant from Comdirect, from DKB or other banks who want to offer crypto trading and storage to the customers, they can just call you, Boris? Or?
Absolutely. They just call us and we can integrate that in their core banking system. That's no problem. And then you can trade out of your bank account, out of your trading account. The Finoa wallet will be integrated and the trading line to us is integrated as well. And that's exactly what we provide.
Great. And whoever needs IT for the public blockchain, they can go to Andreas. So that was the part. Henrik, I have one last question going out to you. What are the plans of Finoa for the future, for the next years? Are you, for example, considering to enter the US markets or other markets to start with that? How big do you think could your business model become?
Yeah, very good question. So in general, what we see with crypto is even though it's locally regulated and hopefully soon also on a European level, what we see now with the European MiCA regulation, this is most definitely going to happen, and obviously much better for like a German-based business model to scale across Europe. But what we see is that crypto is a very global market. You know, it's decentralized per ideology, but you also see that for us very much in the customer base that is coming to us. You know, we have requests from all across the globe, a lot of US as well, because that market is just, I think, 3-4 years ahead of what we see here in Europe. And then when the let's say the KYC and the compliance works out, we can also onboard those customers once they approach us. So the US is definitely something where we already play a role as of today, basically very much against the big US players like Coinbase, for example. And hence for us something to explore further. But I mean, for now, our business is here in Germany, our regulations here in Germany. This is really the core where we want to build the business out, and then scaling, let's say, gently over the next month and years into the more international sphere. Always looking, you know, what kind of regulatory setup can support that. Because again, we always want to act 100% compliant.
Okay. I think we could talk a lot more about the regulatory setup and about upcoming regulation, but I think we're running out of time. I have one last question going out to you three of you guys, and I would make it an open round. So Andreas, Henrik, and Boris, if you imagine in 2025, you're buying a coffee in Frankfurt, perhaps at Rossmarkt or Goetheplatz in the middle of the city, what currency do you think will you pay with? Will you pay with Bitcoin? Will you pay with Euro cash? Will you pay with credit card? Or something else we don't even imagine today? Andreas, do you want to start?
Definitely wouldn't pay with Bitcoin. It really depends on the machine they're having. Is it, I mean, I'm being traditional here. If it's 2025, probably we'll still be waiting for enough cash, I mean, card readers at German coffee places. Other than that, I would love to pay with my card, and whatever currency, I don't really care, to be honest.
Okay, Henrik?
Well, if we follow Lagarde, she said in 5 years, right? So it's 26. So it's just before the verge of the digital euro, right? But I would say it's gonna be up to the user. You can choose probably with which currency you can pay. You have a portfolio of digital assets. I think they will completely be across all levels of society for different use cases. And the settlement happens on infrastructure like Finoa and Bankhaus Scheich. And then you just choose in the moment.
Okay, and Boris?
Yeah, there's nothing to add. I think it should be up to the user, and it would be great if the environment behind us would, we would be involved in that. No, but yeah, it would be great if we still had cash. I would love as an option. Cash as an option is always nice.
You know, this is what I like about German bankers. They're always very trustful and very humble. The most important message is hopefully we're part of the game. I'm quite sure that if there's one bank that will be part of the game, it will be Bankhaus Scheich, and it also will be Finoa and also Andreas with T-Systems Deutsche Telekom. So thank you very much, guys, for taking the time this morning, for posting a lot of interesting questions, for answering a lot of them. And I would say that we make a full stop here. All the best to you. Stay safe, be happy, and talk to you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks for being here.
Bye.